For those of you who know me, you already know. For those of you who don't, I am the founder of Expert Dojo. Expert Dojo are one of the fastest growing accelerator venture capitalists in the world. I think we've got about 300 investments. And every time that I come on here on a Monday morning, it is with one objective and like two methodologies, right? The objective is that you kick off your week with an amazing idea for yourself about how you can growth hack better. Sometimes we kick into building your domain dominance, and I'll talk through things that happened both with our companies in the previous week and things that happened within me in the previous week, so which will inspire you to go out there and just do growth. Again, and then the other thing I'm going to do is bring in an exceptional, inspirational entrepreneur, someone who we have invested in. This company is growing at 200% annual growth, which is the growth required to be a unicorn. Now, why is it important that I bring you these companies now rather than 4 or 5 years in the future? Because in 4 or 5 years in the future, number one, the growth hacks we've done are all irrelevant. They've moved on, they've changed, we're at a different place. Number two, the truth gets distorted. When we look back at our history and what we've done and what we've achieved, any of us, and we're telling this wonderful story, it turns into an epic adventure whereby we're always the hero. Well, when it's in the moment, we're not the hero. if anything, we're like living in a place of just the worst possible difficult situation that you can imagine anywhere. So yeah, like that's what we're going to do. And we're going to go through it. I'm going to bring on an amazing entrepreneur in a couple of moments. We're going to talk about Erica. She's going to talk about what she's done in her company. I know why we invested in her. What is phenomenal about what she's created in this period is that she's taken that initial investment and she's turned it into something just unbelievable. And now she's growing at 200% growth. And 200% growth is the magic number, right? If you're doing 200% growth, I don't care who the investor is. I don't care how risk averse they are. They should be able to do math, right? You're starting at 10, 20, 30K a month. You go from like your 10K to your 30K. You go from your 30K to your 90K a month. You take your 90K a month. That would bring you up to $270,000 a month. Suddenly you're at Series A within 2-3 years. You take your $270,000 a month. And let's say you just do 100% growth at like $540,000 a month. And then another year, just 100% growth, which puts you at $1,080,000 a month. Now you are on trajectory for anything you want to do. Anything you want to get acquired, you're doing $1 million a month. You're going to get acquired. You want to be able to acquire somebody else, go at it. You have enough money to be able to justify that you are a strong company. You want to go public, you are just a smidgen away from going public in a really strong way. You want to get some money and take it off the table, your secondaries are worth something. That's your magic goal. Now, by doing that 200% a month, you're getting there within 5 years. So, okay. Those of you who've heard me before, I will not labor it, but it is important. What I want to do is I want to bring Erica on, and then afterwards, I'm going to share with you some incredible stories that are going to inspire you for the week. As always, any comments you are, whether you're watching this on LinkedIn, whether you're watching it on YouTube, whether you're watching it on Restream, whether you're watching it on our Academy page, any of these places, if you put a comment, then Shashank will be looking out for these comments. And if it's somewhere where it's not showing in chat, he'll put it into chat. What that means is this is your show. So you get to add and ask anything you want to ask, even if it's a little bit off topic, especially after Erica is finished sharing her brilliance. But first and foremost, let me bring in Erica. Hello.
Good morning. How are you? Happy Monday.
You all right? You ready for it?
I'm ready. Let's go.
You're superstar. All we're going to do is we're going to try and dismantle like the components of that superstardom and how you built what you built. And so I want to create a little bit of context first for everyone. And then I would like you to come in and talk more specifically about what you do and what your methodology is. So
perfect.
What Erica, some people have got growth which comes from just they get tons of money, they spend money on Facebook, they do it. That's not the story here. If that was the story, we wouldn't bother, because that's not growth hacking, that's charity. Okay. And then other people, they have a company where it's really easy to grow. Maybe they've been doing it for years, maybe it's the third time around. And then you just go in there and you reinforce relationships in the past. In this particular case, Erica has a need which is extremely important in the healthcare space. It's something whereby we know the customers need it, but the behavioral change requires direct input. So this is not something you can outsource to other people to prospect and to hope that you can get the folks in yourself. This is something that you have to do yourself every single day. The growth is phenomenal. How that growth is coming through is incredible. How Erica is digging into it herself directly, exactly the same. So you'll want to hear. Okay. So Erica, take us through a little bit through Puppy Life Care and talk us through, like, I want to get to the growth as quickly as we can, but give everybody a feel as to what it is you do and the challenges that initially were in place for growth if you were just a mere mortal.
So first, I'll give, I guess, a quick little overview. Poppy Life Care is an integrative, holistic mental health support group. So we integrate things like mindfulness, meditation, wellness coaching, nutritional counseling, movement therapy, such as yoga therapy. And one of our biggest differentiators is we're billing for these services, right? So things that were historically not billable, we're now billing under insurance. So not only are we tackling the accessibility gap and the affordability gap, but we're increasing reach for people that can't typically access these things. So that's a little bit about us. You know, any startup is hard, right? It's never easy. You've got to be a little crazy to say, okay, I'm going to try and do this, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, with this,
but it's big, right? I want to underline two of the things that you've said here, because one of them causes an incredible opportunity and the other one causes a different way to have to do things, right? So the opportunity is mental health. Like, we're facing the greatest mental health crisis in the world. I don't think there's any other crisis that rivals it, anything like in the world, like war, all that kind of stuff. Like, they still come from a place of mental health, because what mental health does is it takes you away from well-being, right? It takes you away from purpose. It takes you away from, I heard this lovely quote the other day, which was like, it was about care, but I transformed it into purpose. But it was like, care makes love visible, right? Which I thought was so beautiful, and I turned it into like, yeah, like purpose makes love
care
visible.
makes love visible. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Care
I changed it. I made it better for me. I changed it. And you know what? I heard it. I actually heard it at this really beautiful Indian. I'm going to talk about this later on. But I went to this kind of a conference which was for Indian leadership. And it was so interesting, because I'm normally used to going to early stage startup, which is like, decimate this, kill that, destroy everybody, like, take the market. And then everything here was like love and peace. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm like, this is Saturday afternoon. I'm like, I'm totally down with love and peace. And then I was watching the panel before I was up speaking, and this doctor said this thing. He was talking about care. And so I think when you have purpose, or when you have meaning in life, like, love becomes visible, right? In all of our aspects. And when you don't have that, you have hell and misery and hate and war and all kinds of terrible things. So I repeat, I believe that mental health problems today are the root of all evil that is in the world today, from, hunger, poverty, homelessness, all that kind of stuff.
Completely agree.
Huge, important market to deal with, right? But Erica is approaching it from a different perspective, right? She's not approaching it from why don't we give them loads of drugs, because that will help, right? She's not approaching it from the perspective, oh, I created this thing which will just solve all of their problems, because Erica knows that, like, that doesn't work. It makes it worse on like a million levels. So she's changing it from the position of behavioral change. Now, that is the longest, most difficult road as a startup to go through. This is why I'm laboring this point. I am a huge believer that the longest road, the most difficult road, is always the best road. If stuff was easy, then every idiot would do it, right? Stuff is not easy.
Well, isn't there a quote? Difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations, right? So kind of exactly what you're talking about.
And you also discover really important things. So, but you have to change behavior in a
Yep.
lot of people to be able to say, look, we are going to go in to people who have mental health challenges. And those folks that we're going to go into, we won't be able to fix it in the first day. It's not like a drug where we'll go in and like they'll be like, "Ooh, the world has changed." Like this will take a little period of time. So you're going to have to come on this journey with us. But inherent within that, although it's absolutely 100% true, proven, and logical, like you still have to bring people on that journey. And
Yep.
so I want you to talk a little bit about when you go into like how you built your growth. And let's start with like your percentage, your growth, both in revenue and your growth in percentage. And this for investors and for startups to listen. And then I want to go into like how you worked on this behavioral change and who you reached out to try and so you could break through as you did.
Okay. So sounds good. So last year was really our first year of operation, right? I got my contract with CalOptima Health here locally in Orange County, California. Was making $0, and then around July, August, I think we brought in like, we had to cut like 2 clients, or something like that. We started making like $1,000, I think in August we made $1,200, and then, we just started to grow more and more, right? We got a pretty large influx in September of last year. We got about, I think, 18 clients that month, which was pretty high. So, things I focused on at that point were process and client experience, thanks to the Dojo.
Hold on. Oh, hang on. You can't
Yeah.
just say we went from 0, nobody knowing us, to 18 clients because of an influx. Like the world doesn't work that way. I've never had an influx in my whole life. I've never had an influx of anything. Everything for me always been grind and hard work. And I know it's the same for you. So what did you specifically do? Because it's not just that you're working in behavioral change, right? You're also, first of all, you're converting companies at a record pace. People who are selling transactional toilet paper don't sell toilet paper as quickly as you're going from 0 to 18 customers. And and the second thing you're doing is you're selling to groups of people that are not quick decision makers. So talk to us about who you were selling to, what kind of customers they were, and what you specifically did to make that work.
Yeah. So what I did was, number one, I've been in healthcare for 10 years. So I do have a network I tapped into. Additionally, I tapped into the CalOptima network, which is the insurance network. So, I focused on networking, whether that was through in-person means, my personal network, or digital networking, right? Through the healthcare health plan. And then from there, I did a lot of email cold calling or cold calling. And then it was really just persistent follow-up, right? Persistent follow-up. And in healthcare, it's very different than selling a technology, right? And especially when it comes to mental health. I mean, we're dealing, like you said, with care, right? And when it comes to caring for people, you have to build trust. And so trust is at the epicenter of everything we do, right? So we build trust in the community. We build trust with our partners. In my opinion, that is the most important thing for my company, is making sure we maintain that trust, right? Because people are entrusting their clients, their patients in our hands, right? Yeah. So I, instead of focusing on digital marketing and social media and my website, of course I have all those things. I was like, I want to get some larger partners that
have building relationships. You were building relationships,
larger network, right? So then focusing on the health plan that serves 1 million people in Orange County, building a good relationship with them. And then I'm getting access to, potentially a million folks here in Orange County. So, and then, partnering with the Mental Health Association, right? They've got 7-8 clinics in Orange County. They have a fantastic reputation. People trust them. So I built trust with them. We
how did you do that, though? Quantify, because you're bringing up some really important things here. Number one, everybody build relationships. Don't think of this as like you're looking to date and you go on to Tinder and Hinge and like 500 dating sites just to do a numbers game. This is not a numbers game. It's a relationship game when you're breaking into large corporations. You're also talking about ICPs, ideal customer profiles, because you're going specifically after the groups that you know that you can go after. But then you made one comment, which I want to dig in on, which is
Okay.
like my favorite, which is you have to follow up. Nobody follows up.
Have
Everybody is
to.
like, oh, I'm going to reach out to this person and then they don't come back. It's okay. I'll reach out to another person. I'll reach out
Yeah.
to another person. That's not the way relationships work. So I'd like to talk about like, how many times did you follow up? Maybe give us an example of one particular company. You can give the name or not give the name, but talk to us about, I want to talk numbers. Like, did you reach out to them 50 times, 20 times, 5 times, 2 times, 1 time? How did you reach out to them? What did that look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, and for me, it depends, right? So I kind of look at it as advertisement. They say for the average person to remember an advertisement they saw, they have to see it minimum 3 to 5 times in order for it to register, right? If you send one email, it's going in in one ear, right out the other. So, everybody's different. So I gauge, I'm also an emotional, I'm a feeler. I've got my, my senses out. Like I can kind of feel if somebody's like engaged in something, and if they're not. So if they're not, I'm like, okay, I'm going to kind of move a little slower with this person, right? If I can tell they're hot, they like it. I'm like, they're loving what I'm doing here. I'm going a little harder. I'm like, hey, let's grab a cup of coffee, And if they say, if I don't hear from them, I'm following up 2, 3 days later. I'm saying, hey, just quick follow up. Would love to grab a cup of coffee, virtual or in person. And then sometimes I throw in what some of our growth metrics in there to kind of
Nice.
spark some interest. Right? I might say, we just recently partnered with Mental Health Association, or we've here's some testimonials. Take a look at what we're doing. So again, building trust. I'm not just some person out here saying, hey, we're doing this great stuff. Believe me. I'm trying to show some metrics that actually are proof in the pudding here. So so those are some ways that I've kind of gone about it, right? And if somebody in the beginning, even with Expert Dojo, right, with your team, Brian, at first I reached out, I said, hey, here's what I'm doing. It after 8 months, I did that for 8 months with John. So I did that, and I was like, hey, here's a little update. Just wanted to give you some update. Hey, here's our growth. I did a little pie chart. I said, here's where we were. Here's where we're going, right? And then Johnny was like, oh, it's kind of interesting, right? This girl's kind of doing something. And then I'm like, hey, I just met with this person, And so I did that for 8 months. I just checked in with your team. And then finally, he's like, all right, let me have you meet Brian, right? And so, for me, I don't give up. If I can tell, if I even get a little response, that tells me we're closer to a yes, right? So, I mean, even a no is a maybe. Like even at first, Cal Optima told me no like 3 years ago. so I kept going. So, and again, I don't waste time if I'm feeling somebody is not into it. It is cold, right? I'm like, okay, I'm going to follow up with that person in 3 to 4 months. If somebody's hot, I'm going big, right? I'm gonna try and get in front of them as much as possible. I'm gonna try and build that relationship. So
I love
so those
that.
are some. Does that answer that question? Or
Yeah, I want to keep digging in because you're so good at this and
yeah,
everybody is so bad at this, like including me, like everybody is so bad at follow up. Nobody understands. Like that point that you made about you have to follow up with like 3 to 5 times for people to remember you. Oh, that's not to sell. Erica didn't say like that's to sell to someone. That's for them to remember you. They won't even remember you for 3 to 5 times. You have to follow up probably somewhere between 10 and 16 times to
easy.
actually be able to sell a good product that they need. And remember, none of our products are good products at the beginning. They're the best possible products that we can make for our customers in that precise moment. And then those customers are going to help us make better products. And I love, I think we have Shanna put a comment in here, which I really like. And I think you covered in a really good way. She's like, how do you build trust in there? There's a part of it where I sometimes I like really wrongly always equate everything to relationships, so just forgive
Me too.
me and make turn it to a
Yeah.
better analogy. Like, but it's like a man asking a woman, like, how do I build trust in this relationship? A woman would never ask a man, how do I build trust in this relationship? It's the kind of dumb question that in a relationship, not in business. In business is a very good question, but in a relationship it's the kind of question where it would be responded to, just try and be your authentic self, right? That's the first thing. You have to start on that basis. If you're not starting on the basis of being your authentic self, you can't build, oh, this might be big. You can't build trust in a relationship. That's
Yeah.
the first thing. And then the second thing is tactics that Erica's talking about here. And she's talking about relentless follow-up. She's talking about building a relationship, because a relationship, you can't have trust without a relationship, right? You
Yeah.
can't have trust without outreach. You can't have trust without follow-up. You can't have trust without a relationship. Like, they have to know you and understand you. And you can't have trust without authenticity. And
One.
what other areas would you add in on top of that, just making it, bringing it to a business level too?
Yeah, I mean, authenticity, I agree, is number one, because people can feel that. We're all, I mean, whether we're conscious or unconscious of something, we're feelers, right? We can feel, we're like, this feels a little off, right? When somebody's not feeling authentic, or we're like, something feels like we can all feel that, right? So authenticity is number one. I completely agree. And then I'd say second to that, second to that would be, I think, showing, again, like showing through action, right? Words are great, right? We can all kind of sell something, but that's where showing, like through the testimonials, like our testimonials, our video testimonials, who we've partnered with, some of the folks that believe in us, right? Our health plans, our, Expert Dojo, like these are people that believe in me, believe in Poppy Life Care, believe in what we're doing. And that builds trust, right? Because people are like, oh, this is something legit, right? So I'd say building a great network of folks, getting some great advisors. For me, I've been so fortunate through this journey to tap into such great mentors and advisors like you, Brian, through the SBDC as well. And so surrounding myself with great people and then building those relationships, and again, showing up, doing what I say I'm going to do, right? Not just like, hey, I'm going to go do these things. Like, proof is in the action. Love is an action, talking about love too. Love is an action. And so I feel like those are things I really focus on, is being as authentic as I can be and building the relationships and showing, who we've got locked arms with, you know what I mean? So
I had a company the other day where one of the people inside the company made an offer to be the front person in the company that would have been like the most transformative, incredible thing for us, not so much for them, but for us. But I knew like the personal damage that would cause for him and his family and all the stuff they were doing because of like circumstances that I can't really reveal here. But, and I said to him, I don't think you should do it. Actually, you should not do it, even though it would be the greatest thing. And that's what Erica means by authenticity. Like, that's the truth. He should not do it. Like, it would be good for me, sure, but life is long. And when you're authentic with someone and you say, look, this would be without question the best way forward, the best for the company, the best for us, the best for making money, the best for everything, but it will almost certainly destroy you.
Yeah.
And I can't let you do that. Even if we don't have another option right now, we're not going to do it. You build trust and authenticity. So I think like Erica underlined it when I said it. And then she came in with some really specific tactics, consumer generated content. I love that. Erica mentioned testimonials. I think of them as fan tributes. And only because like the words matter. If inside your mind, you're thinking to yourself, if this does not sound like, I'm bringing my old rocker days back, by like a fan talking about Bruce Springsteen and how much the fan loves Bruce Springsteen, it ain't a fan tribute, right? It's a testimonial. If it's somebody saying, I have used their product and it was truly, really changing for me, thank you. Like, that's not a fan tribute, right? Especially if it's in writing. You want them in front of the stage going, Erica, Erica, Erica. My life meant nothing, and now my life means everything. And again, I want to underline 0 to 18 customers is ridiculous, right? Ridiculous, especially when they were paying customers and they were coming through. What's your revenue today? Monthly revenue?
We're just under 40,000. So 40,000 recurring revenue. Monthly
in July last year, within 1 year, from 0 to $40,000 a month. That's beast mode. And by the way, like, to do that is the equivalent from going from like, I don't know, $200,000 a month to $800,000, $900,000 a month. Like, it's that big. It's bigger, actually. It's easier to go from 200K a month to 800K a month than it is to go from 0 to to 40K a month. Because if you think
Sure.
about this from an investor's perspective, investors going to, at the beginning, investors thinking, oh, woman entrepreneur, they'll think that too. Like, don't, we might
Right.
as well say it. It's out
Uh-huh.
there. Most investors are supremely biased, and that's why the numbers are what the numbers are. So they'd be like, oh, I don't know. Even though, like, I know women entrepreneurs are going to break through more than men entrepreneurs, but then again, so they'll think
Yeah.
that. They'll also think, oh, solo founder, I don't know, it's going to be really hard. And then they'll think, oh, healthcare, oh, it's really hard to break through in healthcare. They'll be like, ooh, mental health,
Right.
that's really difficult. So at the beginning, look, you can play the investment game, but it's so stupid because all that's going to happen is you're going to hit your head off a wall all the time. And the investment game is 100% looking for investment, whereby
Yeah.
in their mind, outside, here's what they'll do. And then they'll smile, and then they'll look at you because they'll feel a little bit sorry for you as well. And then they'll be like,
Totally.
and then
Yeah.
another pitch and another pitch and another pitch and another pitch. And you get the same thing all the time. While what
Yeah.
you've done is like, in a most polite, awesome, incredible way, is like the most major FU that you can put out there. You know what? If you're an investor, either you're smart or you're dumb, right? If you're smart, you know that us going from like zero to $40,000 a month, us going from zero to how many customers today?
We have around 55 plus. And
Us
so
going
about
from 0 to 55 customers shows that actually for us to go from 40K a month in 2025, it probably hit by the end of the year, what, 60 a month?
at the end of the year, 60 a
Yeah.
month. I say at the end of the year we could get to 80. My
Yeah.
goal is to get to 100, but
I'm sorry for underscoring your amazingness.
Yeah.
Okay, $80,000 a month, which would indicate to investors that by the end of the following year, this company should be on 270K a month. And at $270,000 a month, it's a Series A company. So a company investing today, what's your valuation today?
5 million.
Okay, so a company investing today at 5 million, sorry, an investor, that investor knows that by the end of next year, there is a reasonable to good likelihood at that monthly revenue, which she is on trajectory for right now, that the company will be valued somewhere between 30 and 50. That means a 6x increase for the investor within 18 months. That is how this investment game is played. If you want to play it on their terms, I mean, I am part of May, which is kind of weird. I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot, but I am. Like, if you want to play on their terms, you're an idiot because it's not made for you. If you play on your terms, investors will be attracted to you. And this also, what you're doing this morning is also tied into trust as well. Okay. It wasn't even a question. That was just a rant. Well, go on,
I was going to say, what was the question?
Follow on from there, because that's the road. What you're building is the roadmap. Any investor can see today that you're building a company that is going to give them really good returns. Nothing is guaranteed, but like your risk profile is reducing
Yep.
because of what you're doing.
Yep, absolutely. Completely agree.
Yeah, incredible. So what comes next? So, okay. Oh, actually, you know what I do want to cover? So we've covered building trust. We've covered follow-up. You've been very specific about, hey, I got to follow up all these times, because if I don't follow up all these times, and so everybody who's not following, you know that. You also covered ICP really beautifully. Your ideal customer profile has to be bang on for you to be getting the customers to where you are right now. I want to talk about systems. So I want to talk about like how the hell you do this, because it's easy to say, and I'm not a good systems guy. I'm a BD guy. That's what I do. But I'm not a good systems guy. So how do you build systems?
Yeah, so I'm very good at systems, and that's kind of how my brain thinks a little bit, is in process. So with this isn't my first startup as well. This is the 5th time I've done this, and with this company, there's been some different challenges because we are 100% virtual. And healthcare virtual is challenging. And so, and we see clients up to 5 days a week, right? Because we are an intensive program, right? So, So systems we've built, I focused on categories within that, right? So there's operational systems we have, there's marketing systems, there's sales systems, and that doesn't just include the technology, right? In my mind, a system is also a process. Without a process, the technology is useless, in my opinion, because you can have a great technology, but what's the process around it, right? So, for example, CRM, right? You can have a CRM that just sits there if there's no process around the CRM. So we build process around that, right? We have the systems in place from our CRMs, which we use as HubSpot, of course. We use, all sorts of chat systems. We have an EHR system for our client, our client database, patient records, things like that, which is all HIPAA compliant. But we had to build a ton of process around that. Even having just an EHR, people are like, oh, I'm just going to implement an EHR. It will not work if we don't have a good process. Not only a process internally, but we have to have a process with the client too. How is the client going to interact with this EHR system, right? Because the system can help us achieve better results, right? And in the case of our EHR system, that's also our telehealth platform. So how can people access that easily? We have a patient portal, right? So, but a lot of people, especially the people we're working with, they're not very tech savvy. So we put together, something as simple, how to use your patient portal, right? We send that out. So then our clients are like, oh, here's how to use my patient portal, right? We'll integrate that as part of the onboarding for them so that they feel comfortable with their patient portal, because that is really important for us, because number one, it gives them a great experience. Number two, it makes my life easier because now they've got access to all the information instead of emailing and calling and asking 1 million questions. Where's my care plan? How do I access this? When's my appointment? Go into your patient portal. It's all right there, right? So we're achieving a lot of different things when we have a great process around that technology. We've got telephone communication systems, right? So that's another way for us to not only communicate with our client, but again, if we don't have a process with it, we have a great technology, but nobody knows how to use it. So we implement process for that. So we can access people via text. As we know, mobile is king. Email, we're all inundated by email. So the best way we can get to somebody is through text message. But we have to have a really good process for that too, because we don't want to spam people, especially again, the folks we're working with. We want to be sensitive and, caring and respect boundaries. But we build a process around that so we can make sure that we're available and supporting them in the best way we can. There's so many different systems. I mean, I've got like business development systems, something as simple as the HubSpot, Gmail, I don't even know what they call it, Sales Navigator. You can integrate with your inbox. That's something I do. So I can see when somebody opens up an email, I can track that email. I can see if it was opened up 51 times. Again, that's a way too, where if I'm sending a cold email and I see an email gets opened up 10 times, I'm like, all right. If I see the email doesn't get opened, I'm like, okay, clearly they didn't even open the email, right? So, but if I see it's opened up 15 times, I'm like, I'm going to call them now, right? So I'm like, and then I get the notifications. I'm getting notifications. This email is getting opened up 10 different times. Guess what? I'm calling that person. I'm like, hey, this is Erica, how's it going? I emailed you. Didn't know that you were been checking it, 10 different times. But, again, that's a system, right? So, and that's a process around that system. We can have that great little icon in my email, but if I don't have a process around it, it's not going to do anything for me. So those are different ways that we implement not only systems to make my life easier, but then also implement the process around that system. So
I think this is the quietest I've ever been in my life.
I know, I was going to say, are you okay?
I talk so much that I spoke at a conference last week. And they said, oh, you're going to talk for an hour and a half. And I'm like, yeah. They want, you want slides? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to just talk. And I ran over by 45 minutes. And it was just me. So it's very hard for me to listen. But in that case, it's not very hard. I'm fast coming to the conclusion that systems and process are singularly the most important thing for a startup to be able to break through to Series A. I used to today, do them later. I just think we die today at pre-seed if we don't have systems and process. Like what Erica's saying is everything. And if I'm going to give you, I'm not even giving you a tip. Erica just gave it, but if I'm underlining something that Erica said, I would spend my whole life, if I
Yeah.
was you, my whole at least day, trying to speak to other founders and find out what are the systems and processes that they have to drive their business forward. Because you'll find that, like Erica said something like, "Oh, I use HubSpot, of course." So why
Right.
did she say of course? But that's a whole conversation on its own. And she also mentioned, well, you need to have process around text messaging. And there's incredible, like Community is a great text messaging app, but you can have multiple other ones as well. And then there's like, well, what about outreach? Well, maybe she's using Apollo and maybe she's using Navigator. The thing is, like, these are all systems. There's like two levels of systems. The first
Right.
level is you need things to help you manage this stuff. You just have to have it.
Absolutely.
Not put
Yeah.
in your head, or we're just going to all collapse. And the second thing is you need something to integrate all the disparate systems, because creating the systems now create a bigger system problem because you've
Yeah.
got all these systems that you're trying to manage. So you have to integrate it. I am truly, if there was like a competition for the worst person at any form of logistics operations system, like I would win that prize every single year. There's no
Yeah.
point in me trying to fix myself because I'm so bad that, like, I'm just going to go from like so bad to a little bit bad. So the only time Expert Dojo like moved to that next level, which is beyond the we can't scale Brian anymore, is when I brought Ash in earlier this year. And Ash is incredible at systems and logistics. And now he's like layering one in after another because he's like, Brian, your portfolio deserve more. And I'm like, yes, they
Yeah.
do. But we
Absolutely.
need great systems to do it. So I cannot emphasize more to everybody. Look at everything you're doing. If there's four areas, if there's the outbound outreach that you're doing on multiple
Mhm.
different levels that Erica's talking about, which has got multiple levels of actually just the outbound, pure the outbound, right? And then you have the conversion. And the conversion actually also dips into how many times does she outreach to them? What happens in the meeting? What's the follow up like in the meeting? All of those wonderful things. How good is the product being demonstrated? And then the next one is then the product itself, the lovable products. Like how
Yeah.
much better are you making your product? And then maybe the final one before we get to investment is your domain dominance. How
Yeah.
many people are thinking of you as not just the domain authority, but the domain leader within
Yeah.
that domain dominance? Like that, therefore, powerful areas. And then you're saying, okay, I need systems in each area. I have to, because
Yeah.
otherwise it's
Pretty much.
bad. And then,
Yeah.
Eric, you have to manage all of the outreach you're doing to investors all the time, and then the
Yes.
subsequent outreach, and you need systems for that too.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, systems, it's vital for growth. I mean, you don't have systems, you're not going to grow. It's too way too difficult to manage everything. I don't know how people would manage, and it keeps everything contained too. It kind of gives it a little container to operate in, right? So it gives it automatically creates some more organization. You made a good point that integration component is really important, can be very challenging as well. That's why I like to have systems that talk to each other. If I have a system I'm bringing on that doesn't integrate with at least one other system, I'm like, this is going to be hard, right? I'm going to have to like have a transfer system. It's like, I'm not going to do it, right? So I'm very particular about the systems I integrate, and I do some due diligence because I don't want to move anytime soon. I don't have the time. I don't have the people. So I do my due diligence, even with my EHR. I knew that was in all 50 states, for example. I was like, I don't want to have to get a smaller one. And then when we grow, be like, oh, I should have, because that's a major part of my business. So I make sure I do the due diligence so it can last me at least 2 to 3 years. And then that way I'm able to grow with those systems and grow into those systems as well.
Yeah. And,
You
and,
know,
and look, we don't, there's so many systems. I love this. And Shashank, when you're labeling this to save it, you're going to label it as, use systems and process as your superpower to be able
absolutely.
to grow at a rate that nobody else is able to. That's what this is about.
Yep.
And if everybody here is expecting a list of systems, we would be here for the next 4 hours because there's like
Easy.
4,000 different systems, but 20 are going to be important to you.
Yep.
So here's what I'm saying. First of all, if you're an investor and you'd have said to me 6 months ago or 5 months ago when we invested, if you'd have said, hey, what do you think of Erica and what do you think of the company and where they're going to go? I would be saying very early, amazing founder, great systems process in place. We love what the product can do. And but we're not sure about like how the growth is going to look like because we have to see how she's closing customers. If you said to me today, should we invest? I would say invest now so that you don't lose out because you're going to get an incredible return from this company as long as things don't get unlucky, right? It needs to be unlucky for this
Yeah.
company not to be successful. And so that's how investors' mind thinks. And they're not, I'm no smarter or dumber than anybody else. I think in exactly the same way. For founders, what you should be doing after this call is number one, this is the bar for you. This is what you need to be growing at. Getting an investor is not a right. It's not oh, I built my startup. They should really no, like you don't do that. People have to be able to make money from you in a better way than they can make money from elsewhere. In the same way that if you're looking at Erica now, you're going, oh my gosh, if it's 5 million today, and then it grows to like 30 to 50 million at the Series A, and that's 18 months, and I get like a 6 to a 10 times, unrealized IRR from that, and then it jumps up to like a 500. Whoa, I got me 100 by the tail here. I need to jump in on the back of that. Like that's how investors think. It is higher risk, which is mitigated through incredible executors, which is rewarded by unbelievable returns because you took a chance on an incredible founder, but you kind of had insights that helped you realize they were going to win. This is your bar, founders. This is what you need to be able to show investors. And if you're going to do it and you're going to take this call seriously in the morning, this is not entertainment, right? You got to do something this week. And that means that you go out and you say, okay, let me look at all of the systems that I have in place. Am I maximizing my outbound, my conversion, my domain domination, and my product development by having the maximum systems in place? And if I am not, which I promise you, like us, you were not and probably are not, then you need to reach out to at least 5 founders who are people that you respect in that domain. They are great, like Erica, at systems. And ask those people, list for me the systems that you have for your CRM, list the systems that you have for your communication, your texting, your phone call outbound, how you're keeping those companies in a follow-up thing, your lead sequences, your landing page. Like I want to know it all. And then build in, if you just get 3 systems this month that you put in place, you'll be amazing. And I'll throw a bonus in. If you're an investor and you got a bunch of companies who are sucking at systems and you call up Erica and you're like, hey, Erica, I want to look at your company for invest as well. But my ask from you is that you jump on a call with 2 or 3 of our companies and you actually help them with systems, then I'm sure we can make that happen because there's kind of a vested interest for Erica too. Okay. Normally, Erica, I get to the end of this and I'm like, okay, let me share things that Brian knows, but I got nothing better than this. Like this is gold. Like you're growing at a unicorn level at a time period when most people are struggling. You're convincing enterprise customers that should take 18 months to 36 months, and you're convincing them within 1 to 4 months. You have a follow-up system, which is, of course, getting you incredible sales results that nobody else is getting in your space. You have a knowledge and a belief in trust and relationship building, which is going to increase. We haven't seen your retention for long enough yet. We need like 3 years, but I would bet my car that your retention splits industry standards as well because you're directly involved in it yourself. And now you've kind of layered all of this by saying, hey, I couldn't have done any of this without the systems that we had that I have put in place myself. So can you finish us off? And this is not about, you've been helping, founders and investors for this whole live stream. Finish us off with a future of Puppy Life Care. What's going to happen This year, you're going to get to 80K a month by the end of this year. I'm guessing that's going to have you at over 100 customers that you're going to have in place. Talk to us about what 2025 and 2026 are going to bring, specifically from a growth trajectory and from an investor opportunity.
Yeah, so good question. So by the end of this year, yes, I believe we will get to 80,000 in monthly recurring revenue. My goal is 100. And that is about 125 clients. For going into 2025, well, let me finish 2024. We will have contracted with Kaiser. We will have contracted with IEHP, LA Care. So we will be in San Diego County, Inland Empire, Orange County, and LA by the end of this year, which sets us up really well going into 2025. 2025, we are off to the races in terms of Southern California. We will be growing month over month. I mean, 50 to 100%, depending, of course, on what's going on in our world, and we will be raising a Series A at the end of 2025. We will also be going up to Northern California, and that's our phase 2. We'll be going up there. We'll be going into San Francisco, San Mateo, San Joaquin, all of those counties, which are very, very, there's a massive need in terms of what we're doing. So we're going to monopolize California. By the end of 2025, we will be in all of California. We have already started to go into other states, all organic. 100% of my growth up to this point has been 100% organic. Guess how much I've spent this year on marketing, Brian?
Yeah, I know you're an animal. You're gonna say, I know you're gonna say it's like nothing. Like
it's $150. So we spent $150 this year. And so all of our,
hold on, what did you spend $150 on? I need to know.
I think it was like the website. I think we put the website in that. We put I think one event or something. Honestly, it wasn't very much. So
you're an animal.
$150 this year for marketing. So 100% of our growth, it's been organic, right? So we're set up going into 2025, very, very good. I just got Kaiser, which is amazing. That immediately gets us into San Diego, Inland Empire, and LA County, Orange County. So we're set up. We're going into 2025. Like I said, we monopolize California, and we've already started. We have clients in Miami, Florida. I've got a client in New Hampshire. We've got a client in I think Illinois. So this has all been organic. Somehow they're Googling us and they're finding us in these different states.
Oh, yes,
so
somehow.
Well, and I would say too, because there's such a massive need, how you started off this conversation, Brian, there's such a massive need for what we're doing, right? Call it mental health, call it just overall well-being, call it, just life support. I don't even know, but you know what I mean? And
I honestly call it an impossible life. I genuinely, what I was doing this morning? I was trying to get my kid off 7.5 hours screen time on his phone. I'm literally doing everything to bribe him and everything else. And so they and the world has become impossible for everyone. People are supposed to live in this digital world, and then they're supposed to live in this non-digital world. And then people are so mean and so cruel, all the time in the digital world. And then so mental health problems, it's called Monday. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody is facing the worst things in the world. And so Erica is dealing with something which is incredibly purposeful, which is why I love that whole purpose is love made visible, which is you're going to use that, right? I know you're going to use that.
I love that. I love that.
And I stole it. I stole it on Saturday. So you're very welcome to steal it from me on Monday. And because it's beautiful, because it's what you're doing, right? You're living your purpose. You're getting engaged with these people, and you're changing the world in an incredible way. And again, for founders looking at this, I want to just underline another thing that Erica said there. For investors, it's a no-brainer. If you're not calling her, then I give up on y'all. But if you're a founder, listen to what she said. She didn't say we're gonna, right? She said we will have done, and it's very, very definitive, right? So it's like, we will have executed this. We will have done that. Like, it's already assumptive. It's not a, we're going to try and do it. We're going to try and break
We will.
into, we're going to
Yeah.
make an effort. It's like, we will have done. That means it's done already. It just hasn't been chronicalized yet. So you're an animal, you're a beast. I love that we invested in you. I love being around you. I think what you're doing in the world is beautiful. I get a doofer. I get an amazing entrepreneur that we've invested in that I know I'm going to make a ton of money on. I get a world that gets like eased of a ton of pain because
Yeah.
of a company that have dedicated themselves to actually doing amazing stuff. So lucky me and bully for you. I'm proud of you, and we're going to keep on building this monster. And whatever you need, you got. Final words for you, for everyone listening, and we leave them here.
Well, first of all, Brian, thank you so much for believing in me. I'm so grateful. Like I said, like just having good people surrounding you in this journey is so important, right? Because it can be a lonely journey. So having good people supporting you, believing in you is so important. So thank you. I really, really appreciate it. I'm so grateful to the Expert Dojo team. And yeah, thanks for having me. So check out Poppy Life Care.
She's busy. Got to go out there and dominate a planet, okay?
Yeah,
Thanks.
I got a lot to do. So
Okay, thank you. Take care,
thank you.
everybody.